Welcome to another episode of Built for More. I'm Jessica and this is Rocco. And today we're going to talk about how most people want the results without the sacrifice.
Yeah, that is definitely something I've learned over my life, that it just in business and fitness and life in general, that everybody says that they want those results, but they don't want to do what it takes. And that's like the change you have to go through. Why do you think, in your experience, why do you think that's true with most people?
I mean, it kind of touches on past episodes and topics that we've talked about, that in theory, everything sounds great, I mean, and then until you really kind of start to make a plan, which is even the next step, I think, because I talked about last time how most people, they don't even know what to do, so they don't really even know where to get started. Then you take it beyond that, so you have the plan in place, and then that's whenever the actual real work, when like the rubber meets the road kind of comes in.
Yeah, I think it really boils down to the work involved. Like, people just don't want to do it, especially because today we live in a world where everything's so fast. Like, you have immediate results. You look at social media, you can see, people see these transformations they think happen instantaneously, but it is, I mean, think about you and I. We've been in the gym for decades, right? Like, it's like, and our bodies have been built over decades. It's not something you just like snap your fingers and all of a sudden you see this change. And people, I think people, they think about that result and like, oh, I want to get fit, or oh, I want to start a business, or oh, I want to do this. But when they think about all the stuff that you have, the boring stuff, the stuff when no one's watching, they don't get excited about it. And to me, like, I get more excited about the process than the result.
I agree with you, but I mean, I'm thinking, in addition to that too, think about like yesterday. You know, time kind of has a funny way of, like running along, and if you're not forcible about things, then stuff isn't going to get done. So yesterday we had stuff that we had to do, right? Like, we had work that we had to do, other events that we were going to, and I had to quickly like just leave and go run. I mean, I had to like fit that in.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too that I think that happens. It's like, again, in theory, something sounds good, but then whenever you start realizing your life and all the obligations that you have, it's a lot harder than, for some reason, that always seems to fall to the bottom of the list. The exercise or, the workout routine that you've maybe put in place, and you start thinking, like, I'll get to it, or I'll do that later. Well, then the later never really comes.
Well, it comes down to what you want, right? If you, like you say, if you want it, you find a way. If you don't, you find an excuse. And people, if they don't prioritize, like I always said that I prioritized health and fitness, especially over the past couple of years, like when I just got completely out of shape, like during the pandemic, and I just started prioritizing health. And to me, that's the first thing I do every day. And that's a non-negotiable. Like, I've made health and fitness and just being well a priority. Like, that is a non-negotiable. I think if you're trying to make any type of change in life, you have to decide what that change is, the things that are required to affect the change, then make those things non-negotiable. I always say, don't focus on the result, focus on the process. Like, even when it comes to business, right? Like, I'd always say, like, it's not about getting to a certain level. It's becoming who you are in pursuit of that level. Like, that's the whole journey. But people they see this result, they see this body they want, or this way they want to look. But it's like, okay, but you get to become a different person in pursuit of that. Focus on the person you're becoming, not the end result.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And then you also think about, there's a lot of shortcuts nowadays that life, that we have at our fingertips, that a lot of people are going to go after. So even though they're...
Well, like, what do you mean? Give me a shortcut. 'Cause I think it's a good point to talk about, like, the shortcuts that you see people taking. I think this is a squirrel turd right here on the table, by the way.
It's a fresh one.
Okay. I just had to, this is raw and real. So
yeah.
There was a squirrel.
There was a squirrel literally about right before he set the camera down.
And now there's a turd right in front of me. But we're going to keep going. But good. Shortcuts. Back to that.
Yeah, nowadays, it goes back to the hard work and the sacrifice.
Okay.
With a world that we live in now with convenience, every single area that we can think of, there is a convenient, there's a faster version of anything. The same holds true, I believe. It's been affecting the exercise industry. And there are shortcuts rather than the hard work and the day in and day out, and just different seasons of life, especially for women after having children. It takes time. I remember that was the biggest, I had no idea what to expect after my first child, and it took quite a while for me to lose the weight, longer than I ever would have thought.
What kept you going though? So okay, you knew it was going to take longer, right? And people see these immediate results. What made you keep going?
It was the foundation that
Okay.
I had already built from, at that point. I was in my, mid-20s whenever I had my first child. And I had already had, I guess at that point, 10 years of a foundation of working out, playing sports. And so I knew that, I already knew that the results would come if I continued with it. It wasn't one of those like, oh, after, a few weeks, if I don't see something. I knew that the results I had already achieved. But again, after the baby, it was taking a lot longer, but it was more about knowing, just believing that those results were going to come.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, yeah, I do. And I think, again, when you come down to that belief, right, I also think that people, they have this unrealistic expectation of how quick they can do things. Like I can't remember. There's a saying that says we overestimate what we can do. I think what we can do in a month, but we underestimate what we can do in a year, or something like that. Maybe we underestimate what we can do in a year, or overestimate what we can do in a year, underestimate what we can do in 5. It's like we think we have to get these immediate results, and if we're not seeing them fast, I think people quit. They give up. They get frustrated. To me, it's like just keep going. Consistency over intensity. If you're just consistent with anything, you will see the results. But so many people just give up because it's hard. They're not seeing the results quick enough. No one's cheering them on. Like, it's just a thing you have to do.
It is, and that's the thing, and that's what kept me going after trying to lose the baby weight. It was that I had already seen the results.
How much baby weight did you gain?
The first one, it wasn't much, but the second one, it was double. I think I gained like 40 pounds.
Holy crap, that's a lot of weight.
It was a lot of weight for me, for my frame, for my body. It took a long time to lose that.
40 pounds?
Yeah.
How much did you weigh? Because you're tiny.
I must have weighed like 135, 140.
I weighed that in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
But how long did it take you to get all that weight off?
I mean, the second one, it took close to like 8 or 9 months.
Wow. But again, it came down to consistency, right? Like you knew going into that hey, I'm going to just keep doing what I have to do to get there. Whether it takes 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years,
yes,
nothing was going to stop you. And that's the mentality people need to have. Like, the results will come if you just keep going. It may not come in the time frame you want them to come, but they will come. It's that simple.
Yeah, it is. And there's something nowadays about the hard work, about always trying to find that shortcut and not go through the hard work and that season of like the testing and the just your perseverance, and to see like what you're really made of, for lack of a better phrase.
Think about just in business. Like, think about the firm, right? Like, just over the past couple of years, like I always say, like, we're in the testing period. It's like when I describe it to people, I say, like, it's a marathon. I'm in the middle of the race.
Yeah.
I can't see the start line and I can't see the finish line.
Yeah.
You're just kind of in that mile 12 to 17 where it's like, this sucks. It's hard, it sucks, but you have to keep going, because eventually you see the finish line. And that's a season, I think, where the majority of people quit, because they're too far from the start to see where they've come from. Like, that you don't take that perspective. Like, look how far I've come.
Right.
And they can't see the finish line, so they're just like, screw it, I'm done. This is too hard. And I think that is the time where like you said, that's where you have to persevere the most, in the middle of the race, because that is when it is the absolute hardest. I mean, you're a runner, right? So say you're going to run 10 miles. In your mind, what is the hardest part of that 10-mile run?
Well, that's funny you bring that up, because at least whenever I was running,
by the way, it's stupid to run 10 miles. That's a lot of miles.
No, it isn't. I mean, if that's something that you're
I'm
kind of
joking,
geared towards.
Yes.
But that was always a phrase that I used to say, that if I got halfway, then I definitely was. Then I was not going to quit at that point, because once you get to halfway, it's all downhill after that. It's the way I looked at it. So it's getting to that halfway point. But the problem, I think, whenever we're talking about this, is you don't really know where the halfway is. I mean, yeah, people put like a value on how much weight they're trying to lose, so they kind of get to that. But then that second half is the hardest, and that is kind of where you have to really kind of dig down deep and keep going with it. So that's
well, I think you just said something that I want to bring up. I think it's a good point. Like, I think where people go wrong is they say, I want to lose X amount of weight. They pick this arbitrary number, this arbitrary goal. And I used to be that same person. Like, I used to pick these goals that were like, they were result-based goals. And I remember learning the switch where make it process-based goals.
okay.
Because when you make it a process, like, instead of me saying, hey, like take last year when I started walking, right? Like, I didn't have a goal of getting to 10% body fat. I said, I'm going to walk every morning for 45 minutes. The result was I got to 10% body fat. So if you make the goal a process-driven goal, the outcome becomes the result you're trying to achieve. But I think where people get hung up is they'll say, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds by June 1st. And they only lose 15. They're like, shit, I didn't hit the goal. Like they think they fell short. But instead of saying, hey, I want to work out every day for 45 minutes, or I want to work out 5 days a week for 45 minutes, starting January 1st to the end of the year, then whatever result they get is the byproduct of that process. And I think that it's a mental shift you have to go through, because people will put a goal and if they don't hit the goal, they think they failed. But if you make it a process-driven goal, you just engage in the process and the result is the byproduct. Does that make sense? You look confused.
I'm not confused. I'm just thinking.
Okay.
Because I kind of went through that a little bit ago.
Okay.
I wanted to get to a certain weight
Okay.
by Friday,
Okay.
this last Friday, which was May 22nd. And
I know about that. Interesting. Go on.
no, you did know.
Okay, sure. Go on.
Several times we've discussed
Okay,
it.
I believe you, yes.
So I would have these, like, my own weigh-ins. They were totally random, different times, whatever. And it was kind of fluctuating. But then I realized that didn't matter, because all the while, as the consistency of like the getting back into the weight training, which I hadn't been doing for a while. I was doing more cardio based like the last few years, and then plus the consistent cardio, my body shape was changing. And I kind of recognize that. Again, I've had some experience with that just from years ago. So I agree with what you're saying, but then what would you tell somebody then that if they are focused and they get to that date and the weight is not, the scale is not showing the exact number that they're wanting.
Don't focus on a number. That's the problem. That is the whole problem. If you focus on a number, right? Because then it's a zero-sum game. It's binary, right? It's like I hit it or I don't. So if I say I want to lose 10 pounds and I only lose 9, I didn't hit the goal. But if I say I want to work out every day or 5 days a week for 45 minutes beginning January 1st to June 30th, and I do that, I guarantee I'll lose weight. I guarantee you'll look different. But the number on the scale isn't what matters, because you engaged in the process and you created lifelong habits now. Like that's the part that people don't get as well. It's like, yes, this is where I think people go completely wrong when it comes to fitness resolutions. They set a goal like that. I want to lose X amount of weight. They hit it. They're like, cool, got it. When you make it a process-driven goal, now you're building habits and disciplines that you carry on throughout life. Because if I say I want to lose 20 pounds, I lose 20 pounds, cool. Goal's done. I just go back to normal, go back to how my life was. That's what most people do when you think about it. Look at people that their weight fluctuates over time, right? They lose a bunch of weight, then they don't build the habits, or like we talked about in prior episodes, become that person who's now a fit person. When you make your goals process-driven, you become a different person. You create new habits. So the goal is those processes, and the byproduct is the results you attain and the person you become along the way.
That's true. But then on the flip side, I'm also thinking back to some periods of my life.
Okay.
Now this was back like in high school. I was running
Decades ago.
every day in the summer. But then every day I'd also stop at Dairy Queen and have a Blizzard. This is true. This is true.
Okay.
This is actually true.
Okay.
So I entered my freshman year of high school, actually heavier, having been running, like, I don't know, maybe between at least 5 and probably like 8 miles a day.
Okay.
But eating the ice cream, which back then I didn't realize how fattening ice cream really is.
Right, but you're also
so my
a
point
kid.
is like, but if you don't really have some sort of like you need to have milestones along the way, and there has to be a way to somewhat measure your progress. You can't be, you can still do the healthy living and you can still do the walking, but there's a lot of people that will walk every day and they're still gaining the weight, because in your mind you're thinking, I did it yesterday. I literally did this yesterday. I ran yesterday and then we walked after we worked out. And then we went to a food truck festival. So I ate as much as I possibly could until I couldn't breathe.
Okay.
So if I did that every day, don't you think there'd be a problem with that?
Yeah, but you're missing the point. You don't do it every day. That's the difference, right? Because you've built habits and disciplines.
Right.
Like, so it comes down to, I see what you're saying. Yes, you need markers along the way to say, am I making progress, right?
Right.
But what I'm saying is, if you focus on the markers and not the process, then you have this distorted perception of reality. I mean, it really is, because if I focus on how much weight I'm losing, but I'm not focused on building the habits to get me there, then okay, I can just starve myself for a week and lose a bunch of weight. And then it's like, cool, okay, I lost 20 pounds, but I have no good habits in place. Are you laughing because it's raining now?
Well, that's actually kind of a fascinating thing. It is raining, and I'm not sure how it's not touching us at all.
Because we're under a tree.
Yeah, but how is it blocking it that much?
Well, I don't know.
And
There's a squirrel turd in front of me.
I know. And now ants are coming over to eat it.
So, but do you see what I'm saying? Like, I think I get what you're saying. You have to have markers that measure certain things. But I've always, and again, I used to be the guy that focused on results-driven goals, and I never built the habits, right? Once I started focusing on process-driven goals, I just created the habits to be successful in any area of life. And you just keep building on those. Like whether it's business, whether it's fitness, whether it's just anything, it's just truly like it helps you change your identity and change the person you are. Because that in anything in life, if you want results, if you want a different result than what you have right now, you have to become a different person to get that. The person you are right now obviously hasn't achieved the goal you want. So you have to become a different version of yourself to achieve that goal. And you do that by creating better processes, disciplines, and habits.
That's true. I do believe that. And it is definitely, it is a work in progress, I think, over. And it's about not giving up and not allowing, a setback to kind of derail all the effort that you've already put in. And it's the same thing. I speak about this all the time, but it really is the same with your walk with the Lord. I mean, a lot of people, they find themselves in situations and, instead of coming back to Him and asking for the forgiveness and moving on, it's like that, whatever goes on, it's like that's the point that it derails, everything. And it really is an endurance race and just the continuing on.
Life is an endurance race.
Yeah, it is.
And that's it. And I'll leave this episode with this. If you just understand that it may not come in your time, it'll happen in the time it's supposed to happen. And as long as you keep moving forward, you will achieve anything in life you want to achieve. Holy balls. Now
it's coming through. Be strong. Take heart. You're built for more.
And we'll see you on the next episode.